I understand that. I've been covering Pakistan for many years, foreign minister, and one thing that comes up quite often is the military's role in the economy, the military's role in government. And it's fair to say, in some senses, that it's very difficult to envision structural reforms to Pakistan's economy or its government as long as it has an all-powerful army. What's your sense of the army's role circa 2022, and where do you see it moving forward in relationship with you now that you're in government?
So absolutely, our history has been a turbulent one, and the role of our armed forces beyond. I mean, as you say, powerful armed forces. I think any country wants a powerful armed forces, but we, along as others, have long advocated for institutions within Pakistan, all institutions within Pakistan, sort of conducting themselves within their legal mandate and transitioning away from the more controversial roles that we've had in the past. I think a significant development here, the developments of April earlier this year, where the no confidence against Imran Khan was successful, and for the first time in our history, through a constitutional democratic means, we managed to remove a prime minister. Of course, you, as someone who's been following Pakistan's history, will know that that has never happened before. All
Right.
prime ministers who have been removed have either been done so by being hanged, by being exiled, by some sort of judicial verdict. So that's a significant point in Pakistan's political history, institutional development, democracy, that we do so through a constitutional manner. And if that indicates that our armed forces or our institutions are transitioning from what was a controversial role to a constitutional role, that should be encouraged across the board. Unfortunately, particularly on behalf of our opposition, rather than being encouraged, it's being outright condemned. And sort of an overt intervention is being solicited in favor of our political rivals, which is obviously not in the interest of Pakistani democracy. It's not in the interest of the army as an institution. And I do hope we continue on this path where we transition away from unconstitutional, controversial roles to constitutional legal roles, which over time should see a reduction of space taken in civilian matters.
Right. I hope so too. I'm going to ask you a related question. There is obviously democracy and its trajectory in Pakistan, but there's also, I guess, an issue here in that you come from a dynasty of leaders. Your prime minister also a very famous family name in Pakistani politics. Does dynastic politics, and this is not unique to Pakistan, it's quite common around the world, even here in America. Do you feel that holds democracy back in any way?
Well, I suppose which dynasty? Because we have sort of a lot of figures in Pakistani politics whose families are associated with the periods of dictatorship that we have experienced, and who seek through their political careers to advance undemocratic steps within Pakistan's system. I can speak for myself rather than others. I come from a political family, most certainly, who has consistently struggled for civilian supremacy and democracy in Pakistan. And I personally sort of did not choose to propel myself in this direction. So events took a certain course, but it all is rooted back to the fact that my mother was assassinated before her time. And as a result of which, we took on this responsibilities with the hope that we'll be able to complete her unfulfilled mission. I do hope that we move away from a time when where such sorts of executions and assassinations sort of propel the nature of our politics. In that case, I think most certainly you wouldn't have seen me in the position I am at the
But
time.
and I push you here a little bit. I once actually asked your mother the also when right before she was prime minister the very same question about 15 years ago, a very eloquent answer from her. But if you look at the trajectory then of democracy in Pakistan, are you optimistic about where it's headed? Do you think it served the country?
Oh, absolutely. I think every time we've had civilian governments, we've made political advancements. Whenever our party has been in power, we've not only expanded human rights, labor rights, media freedoms, but constitutional rights, devolved power away from individuals, be it the president, even the prime minister, to its parliament, and then beyond parliament to the provinces. Unfortunately, we've never had the uninterrupted progression of democracy that we deserve. And I think through such evolutions, while, mistakes will be made, you have like a sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back sort of approach to the system. So I don't know, to say democracy, how well has democracy served Pakistan, I think democracy is the only answer. And no matter how weak a democracy is, even the worst and weakest form of democracy is better than any dictatorship. And democracy is just as good as it is for Pakistan, as it is for anywhere else in the world.
I understand that. Of course, your country has had many interruptions to democracy, so I understand where you're coming from.